The restaurant business is not a business that I recommend. Now, I say all these things like I'm bitter. I love it. And my family knows I love it. My wife knows I love it. Kids know I love it. So in no way am I trying to trash the industry or the business or anything else. It's just not for most people. So I try to actually talk people out of it.
Welcome to the Restaurant Leaders Unplugged podcast, where real talks with restaurant leaders take center stage. Discover the challenges and victories that define success in the culinary world. Dive into essential strategies from marketing to operations and gain insights that will transform your approach to your restaurant business. Don't just keep up, lead the way. Join me, your host, Sebastian Stahl, on this journey to excellence. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Restaurant Leaders Unplugged podcast. Randy, welcome. It's really a pleasure to have you here.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
So guys, for you, the guys that don't know, Randy Burks from Randy's Steakhouse. We have a really interesting story here. Randy's been in the industry for 31 years. And I think this is a great conversation, a lot of great insights for a person that's been in this business for a really long time. So again, Randy, welcome.
Glad to be here. Glad to answer any questions you have.
Yeah. So let's get started. Randy, so let's start at the beginning. If you can share with us, our audience, how'd you get started in this business? I know you've been in it for a long time. And what actually drew you to this industry?
Well, I used to manage grocery stores many years ago, and the hours were, believe it or not, even longer than restaurant hours. So decided to do something else and got a job in a black coffee, and I really enjoyed that, but didn't make any money. So then I was left trying to figure out, how do you make money doing this business? And so I went to Frisco. So that was really my first real restaurant job was there. I got hired on as a server, and it didn't last very long before I got moved to the kitchen. They all determined that I didn't have the right personality. I had a conflict over whether or not the steaks we were serving were right. So trouble. The customers started questioning the quality of the steaks. And even with my restaurant, I don't know why I was so offended by it, but I started studying the quality of the steaks, and I realized right away that something was wrong because the guests stopped looking at me and started looking behind me. So I turned, they were standing behind me, and he said, "Well, why don't you go to the kitchen?" And
That's a better place for you.
right. But he's like, this, you obviously, some people have better personalities than others. He said, "Belong in the kitchen."
Right. So what happened in the kitchen then?
Well, I actually started off as a dishwasher, believe it or not. And I just said I wanted to figure out a way to make money. I was dishwasher wasn't the way, but these were real professional chefs there because they went to culinary school and all that. So while I was there, I kept a notebook and took notes of things that happened, of course, the evening and dealt with this problem. I always wrote down the problem, and then I wrote down their solution, and then I wrote down this, and I would have done it. And I started maintaining this notebook. One day, Dale was angry about something in the kitchen. He was getting on to the staff. And I spoke up and he said, "We've done this before, and it's not fixed." And I said, "Well, I know how I'd fix it." He looked at me like, "Who are you? You're the dishwasher." And I said, "Well, I have a notebook. Every time something goes wrong, I write it down, and I've got a solution." And he said, "You have this notebook?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You show it to me." So I went out and brought it back in and showed it to him. And I had, so let me just back up just a little bit. I have no culinary experience at this point. So the kitchen manager was going on vacation, and Dale said, "Okay, when the kitchen manager's on vacation," he said, "I want you to run the kitchen while he's gone, and we're going to see how this goes." And a lot of those guys back there who had a lot more experience and a lot more training than I did. But, my gift it wasn't really in my cooking. It was more in my management and how to solve problems and move things forward.
Well, that's not a common thing for somebody to go into the kitchen the first day and then taking notes of all the solutions that you're seeing and then being able to offer those. You were demonstrating leadership from the get-go.
Well, my dad was a business owner, and, so growing up, I used to watch him. So it was more of a natural copy of what I would see my dad do.
Right.
Even though I'd ever get to use it, in my mind, I was gathering information for something else.
I know you've been in this business for 31 years. How did you go from working at the Frisco's and then to opening your restaurant? Because that's a big leap.
So my first wife had cancer. We were in the hospital, and my dad started telling about this idea he had for a business building coffee. And he would stand it up, and it would be a bookcase. This was something to use it while you're alive. You lay it down, it's a coffee table, you top the headboard, and you die, you flip it over, throw the body in. So there were a lot of, but yeah, I swear to God, he owned a lot of business.
Talk about multi-purpose.
Really well with some of them, and some of them failed. Well, you can guess that one did fail miserably. But there were other people in the waiting area, so they started talking about their ideas for businesses. My dad was listening to everybody. Steal your idea, but it's a good one. And he got to me, and I talked about putting a restaurant in an old house. And I was talking about the restaurant I have today, though I didn't know it. It's kind of good in my head. And the next day he called me and said, "Were you serious about that restaurant idea?" And I said, "Well, I mean, I am, but I don't have money to do that right now." And my dad was like, "Well, I do." He said, "Put together 3 business plans. Best case, worst case, middle of the road. Pitch it. If it makes sense, I'll invest in the company." So that's what I did. He did invest in the company. And we were business partners for 27 years. I paid him out all the money that he put in many years before that, but he owned half of the company. So I bought him out his half about 4 or 5 years ago. So now I'm working by myself. I miss out my head there.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a beautiful story, Randy. It really is. And so tell us a little bit more about your early days there when you first started the restaurant. How was that experience?
Well, I mean, believe it or not, I didn't start off with a prime steakhouse like I have today. I started in a community called Frisco, Texas, where the Cowboys have moved their headquarters 2 years ago. And so it's a fairly up and coming, growing community.
Yep, I know Frisco.
Yeah, country. But when I opened there 31 years ago, growing, didn't know until it started to grow. So when I opened up, there were 3,500 people in Frisco. So I started off with me in the kitchen and me alone, and I had 2 servers. We did chicken fried steak and meatloaf and hamburgers, kind of like a black eyed pea concept. That's how we started out. And as it got busier, I bought bus tubs and more dishes, and the dishes would pile up, and when there were breaks, I'd wash dishes. When there wasn't, I would eventually, got to hire some people. So today we employ 43 people. We've grown quite a bit, but.
Well, it's a big restaurant.
Yeah. So, but I leased that first building. I think it only took $40,000 to get open. That was in 1993. And then we bought our own building, an old white historical house in downtown Frisco, built in 1869. Yeah, we paid, I think, $750,000 for it. After the renovations, everything, we had $1.1 million in it. And today it's appraised at, I think, $2.4 million just for building business.
Of course. Quite good investment then.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm back. I'm probably better at real estate than the restaurant business. We opened up. I bought it from a gal who was real influential in Frisco. Callum, she passed away during COVID, unfortunately, but she had a swimming pool in the back and used to have dining tables around there. And one night I was leaving and I noticed boys kind of milling around, and I have a policy that when you cut, you get out of there. I'm only open for dinner from 5 to 2 p.m., so there's no reason to mill around. I was leaving. I noticed people that should have been gone, and so driving home, I started thinking, what are they doing there? So I turned right back, and I pulled my car up nice and quiet and walked in the backyard and found my kitchen manager skinny dipping with so lucky staffs and chairs. Because he was a good kitchen manager, but I could not let that go. So
For sure not.
Yeah. Next day, I called the contractor, and inside of a week, got a backhoe back there, digging the pool out. So there was.
Oh my God. Oh my God. The things we see in our industry.
Insurance. When I got insurance in place, the insurance company was like, I don't know what the swimming pool. I think it'd be a liability. And so they were, get out.
It must have cost quite a bit to dig it out too.
And not that much as it costs to keep replacing people who are skinny dipping there.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Part of that story I didn't tell, they were partaking in my product. I mean, they were having a little party. They were having, so yeah, it was
so
nice.
they were grilling steaks in front of the pool.
Everybody was
Oh my God, that's a funny story, Randy. So, Randy, in the early days when you started your restaurant, what were some of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome?
Well, I think at first was lack of knowledge. I think was a big thing. It was my first business. When we first opened up, we were real busy. And I'm going back now to when we opened up, we were doing the chicken fried steak and the meatloaf. Like that. We were real busy, and I was too busy to count money or pay attention to numbers. My dad was actually running the business side for me behind the scenes. And one day the bank called me and said I had no money in the bank. And some people were trying to cash their paychecks. And I'm like, what do you mean I have no money in the bank? People are standing out. I mean, seriously, the place was a big place I have now. People would stand outside, and my parents would be out there pouring them iced teas and stuff. But, my guest average back then was like $6.33. I was family style, so it was like, you can eat vegetables and stuff. I mean, it was big old portions. And I just didn't know I was losing money. That was my first reality check and my first thing about having the systems in place. And then one day we had some business guys. Well, to back up a little bit, I had a purveyor that wanted me to buy some beef from it. He had a restaurant that went out of business, and he asked me if I could buy some steak from him. And I was like, man, I don't sell. Well, I'll sell to you cheap. So I bought some New York strips from him and some fillets. I ran some specials. And these 4 guys, because they were drinking wine, and these 4 guys outspent everybody that had been to the restaurant that entire day. And back in those days, because I was trying to figure out how to make money, so the rent's the same, no matter how many hours I'm open. A lot of the utilities are fixed. They're the same. So if I'm open longer, I have a better chance to make money. So I would open breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
And these 4 guys had more money than everybody else spent the whole day. I remember calling my dad and telling him about it. And I said, we're doing this all wrong. And even though we were in Frisco, back then, by this time, it'd probably grown to 5,000 or something. I mean, it's still very small. I was like, we're doing this all wrong. I'm better off serving 10 people a day than I am serving. Those days, we were serving 150 or 200 people. I'm like, so we changed stuff right away. Now our guest average is about around $100 per person. We're still doing Frisco's grown a lot, so we're still doing decent stuff. That was a real eye opener. I didn't like my landlord, so that was about the same time this all happened. So I talked to my dad and said, let's look for another place. The house I'm in now, it's like 2 blocks down the road. So we bought it. It's a house. We turned it into a restaurant, and we moved in there, and we changed it from first place was Randy's Country Kitchen, changed it to Randy's house.
So that's how it happened. It made sense at the time.
Yeah, there's a real advantage to being small, and that's been an advantage several times. It was an advantage then, it was an advantage strength both. But it's the ability to change very quickly based on circumstances and based on what you learn from experience. You can change really fast. What they're working for a corporate restaurant where you've got all these people trying to make decisions and you've got some people afraid to make meetings. It happens very slow. That decision fast. And it's funny. So we first went from Randy's Country Kitchen, Randy's Steakhouse, some this new place. Customers were coming in and they they were like, we like to role play stuff. Cheap. Yeah. Right? It was cheap. And when I was doing Randy's Steakhouse, it was more like what I did at Del Frisco's. So the more like it, I basically copied Del Frisco's, what I did. And it was way more expensive and people were complaining about it, but we stuck with it. And now I'd much rather do what I'm doing now. I'm open 5 hours a day. Not bad. I've got a life. I have friends that have had restaurants that have no life. They make no money. Not only am I making a little bit of money, but at the asset of the building, making payments on it every month.
Randy, you've done a lot of things right. Definitely.
Yeah, wrong too.
Well, that's how we get to the right things, Randy. My experience. We got to mess up a lot of things to get the right things.
It's the real business. And if you were here, you would say I'm still doing a lot of things wrong.
That was leading me into my next question, Randy, because I know family business sometimes can be complicated, right? Working with family, but I know your experience was a bit different. How was it working with your father?
My wife doesn't like me to say this because my dad was he's still alive, my best friend. And my wife wonders, where does that leave her? But, he loaned me the money to start with. We had that initial thing where he wasn't making money in the bank. Always there was no money in there. He threw more money in there to just go on. And he helped me organize the business side while I ran the restaurant. And, it was one of those relationships. We had 2 different expertise. I knew how to run the restaurant from my time at Del Frisco's, and he knew business. And really, for a number of years, we never really got in each other's way, but we also 100% trusted each other. Or thought that I was going to be stealing and lose their money. And I didn't worry about him as learning from, it was a complete trust thing. And it was just wonderful. And it still is. And to this day, I bought him out 4 years ago, I think. And he's trying to do my books. In fact, I just bought a new software. He does QuickBooks, which I never learned QuickBooks, restaurant software. Look, so right now we're actually, believe it or not, keeping 2 sets of books. You mine and he does his. And then in January, I told him, it's time that January, our 2 books jive, but if they're the same, and I'm going to take over, you're going to finally get a retirement. Greatly deserved, but I'm not sure he wants.
Right.
Right now, in front of the restaurant, they're doing Main Street construction. World Cup is, they're going to play a game downstairs.
Yeah.
And they're redoing Main Street. And oh my God, it's my second time in 30 years to go through this Main Street construction. And it's killer. I mean, it really affects the business and everything else. And so, it's in Florida, it's looking at my numbers. Oh my God, so you get out of the, this happened to us how many years ago? I think it was 2007, 8.
Yeah.
It's so different. Yeah. We survived. And I'm 60, so I got to get through the road construction and be in business in a couple of years to get my value of my business back. Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I can retire and see what happens.
Yeah, I hear you, Randy. Yeah, it happened to us as well in our businesses. And when they do road construction, maybe that's the worst because there's nothing you can do about it.
No, I try not to make excuses because especially when you're, and I say try because it's hard because sometimes I have a regular that I become friends with.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell them things that probably shouldn't tell them. Like a good leader always has a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, oh my God, I'm like, beg them, come back. Thank you for coming in. Or it's one time right now, we need you to, I have to remember that I have to be positive all the time, even with my regular.
And that's not easy, Randy. That's not an easy thing to do. And so, Randy, the industry is, well, especially now, I'm sure you've seen it evolve over 31 years, but now these days it continues to change. So what are some key operational changes or things that you've implemented to stay competitive in today's market, especially with raising food costs and other stuff and thinning margins? Have you implemented anything different that you've been doing to kind of offset that?
So I was talking about the software I just started on, if you're familiar with Restaurant 365.
Yeah. Yes, I am 100%.
Months ago. So I'm still implementing it right now.
Yep.
It's already helping. I never did weekly inventory. I did inventory, but I never put a cost to it. Never actually did food costs based on what my current inventory load, how it changed. I never did that before. I always did food costs based on, well, I bought this much and I sold this much. This week my food cost is 5%. We started doing that. And my dad, again, with a distributor here, he always thinks I have months because I personally do not believe that. But we have cameras to help kind of watch things if I'm there and not there. But I think mostly that Restaurant 365 and doing weekly inventories. And one thing I've always been good at is watching food costs as far as price.
Right.
So when things come up, I react. I change the price on the menu constantly. Sometimes I get in trouble with my guests. Sometimes, you're at my price point. A lot of people don't say anything. I don't think a lot of my people, yes, I mean, I have money and I don't worry too much. But some of them, well, they let you know. I've kind of had to be like, I've got to think long term. I cannot worry about losing customers on price. So I want to give them some kind of value, experience, something to make it worth them.
Exactly. So how do you deliver on that, right? Because of course the product needs to be there. Steaks got to be great. But besides that, because right now what we're seeing is, okay, I think in your concept, you're delivering an experience, right? Because it's a high priced experience in an item or restaurant. So you have to deliver on different fronts to be able to create that value to keep people coming back. How do you deliver hospitality at your restaurant, Randy? I'm guessing it's a little bit part of just your personality and you yourself.
Well, I know that I'm loud, obnoxious. I don't have a lot of people always comment. Even when I'm traveling, people will hear me laugh in the airport. I'll be like, I'm in another state, but I know I'm not down here. And they run around this place like, oh my God, you're there. But, our building, we have a lot of advantages, but it starts really with our location, our building. One that we're in a thriving area. Frisco. So, I'm bitching about road construction, but, it's growing. So that is what it is. But I'm in an area that's growing. It's growing with affluent people. We just got the PGA moved into the area. We have FC Dallas, which is professional soccer. We have double A minor league baseball with the Rangers. We have minor league basketball. We have the Dallas Mavericks. We have the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, we have all this stuff that's coming to Frisco. And so it's just booming. And it's booming with people with the money. And we're getting local celebrity type people that are moving into the area. It's just crazy what's happening. So that's a real advantage. The other thing is my building. It was built in 1869. It's an old house and it has tons of history. So it is the old building in Frisco. So to give that circle reference, that's 4 years after the Civil War when it was built. And when it was built on Preston Road, which used to be the Preston Trail Cattle Drive. These cattle down here all the way up to Kansas City. And then in 1903, Frisco, the railroad comes through Frisco. And so Frisco was named after the San Francisco Railroad. And it took forever to build a building back then. So it was put on logs, pulled to the location where it is now. And it's crazy. For a foundation, they just took the trees that were there and they cut them off the same level and they rested the house in the tree trunks. So when you walk out, you'll see there's like the floor is uneven. But sometimes along, not really a support there, it's just the floor and it's bowed over the years from sitting on top of the tree trunks.
Yeah.
I've cut it out, try to cut the tree trunk down, they'll floor back flat again, but that works so well. But we had a murder in the house in the early 1900s. It was used as the doctor's office for a while. And so the local school teacher back in Frisco was very, very small. I had a one-room schoolhouse, one teacher. The teacher talked to the doctor about the bad behavior of his daughter at school and he came up upset with her. He shot, killed her. And I don't claim the restaurant is haunted, but a lot of people believe it's haunted. It's crazy. We get a lot of nutty people come through there just because of the rumors that it's haunted.
Free marketing.
Yeah. Well, I don't like lie on purpose. I might lie about ignorance, but I try not to do it on purpose. So I don't believe so. And I'm married, so I've had problems at home sometimes that I've spent the night there. I've never been spooked by anything. I've night of day. But that's one real advantage. And then what I mentioned before, to be able to adjust things when the recession were expensive, so we added some lower cost items to the menu. And then when things those items went away, and then during COVID, for example, we were shut down. So I did going to takeout orders like 6 weeks or something. So I started off the first 3 days doing my menu takeout, and I did like 13 orders, something like ridiculously slow. And on my website, or go on vacation. We didn't know when they were going to allow us to go, so I was afraid to go out. So gotta do something. So I went back to that country kitchen recipes that we did when we first started out, chicken and dumplings, meatball stuff, and we packed them in family meals, like portions for 4 people.
Yep.
And we spent like 400 of those a day. And it was crazy. And the amazing thing about it was I'm a member of a Catholic church. So for all these guys that go to church with me, they went to their neighbors and they're like, Randy's got this lower cost deal. I think we charged $40 for a family of 4. Something stupid. And then because I had all this wine, I got this huge wine cellar. I had all this wine. You spent like over $50. I gave you a free bottle of wine because it was just sitting there. Not going to give you any money. So I used it to get people in the door. And so these guys were taking orders from their neighbors, and then they were coming and picking it up and delivering it to them. And so I just had all this outreach. I had people buying gift cards from me and then mailed them back to me unused just because they were trying to help us survive.
Wow.
No, isn't that crazy?
Wow. That's amazing.
I don't know who it was who did it, but I started getting all these gift cards. That's
amazing, Randy. You see that sometimes the worst times brings out the best in people.
It is crazy. And I know some of it is because I've been there a long time and I've been involved in the community and stuff. But it's really, I can't believe how the community rallies around us and things. Tough. So
yeah, that's amazing, Randy. So when you were going through all of these things, Randy, that we're switching up, to talk a little bit about leadership, there's the emotional component of leadership. That is, I think, the toughest part. There's the technical side and some things that we can learn, but emotionally, how to deal with challenges like these, it's very difficult. And of course, all of us went through a lot of different things through COVID. How did you manage the stress and all of that happened at that time? And throughout your career. And when you have a team of people looking up to you to say, hey, what are we going to do?
Well, I don't always handle things as well as you're painting it. So thank you for that. You know, but for example, like COVID, I told you I did 3 days of doing the regular menu and wasn't working. And we're closed. So I'm wearing my shift coat with my name on it. And when we were closed in the first 3 days, I was wearing street clothes. And then one morning, I think the fourth day in, I normally get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to start my day. And I got up and I put on my shift clothes, and my wife was like, "What are you doing?" And she's going to work. And she said, "You're not going to see any customers. We're closed." And I said, "I can't sit here and do nothing. I'm going to work like I did every day before. I'm going to pretend like I'm going to see people." And I went to work. And then when I went to work, I started trying to plan and just do something. I didn't know what I was going to do was going to work. Just do something. Just try something. And also some of the other businesses around me, downtown area, they were struggling. Whether it was a gym that was struggling even worse than me. And the woman that owned the gym was just so freaking positive. And she started these Zoom calls. I never Zoom. I still don't. This is something unusual. But I never did Zoom calls before. And she started this Zoom with the businesses. And at first I didn't make a couple. And then I started getting on there. And just listening to the other business owner lifted me up. And like, okay, I'm not in this alone. It feels like I'm alone, but I'm not at all. And everybody's going through the same thing. And it just fired me up. And all this happened, well, I'm making it sound like it was a process. It was a very short process. Like I'm talking about the first, and then we started what I was talking about, the sampling meals and stuff. It's just kind of tackling things as they happen. And I'm going through it right now with this road construction. Like I said, I have to remain positive. It's not easy. Sometimes I forget. I talk to people and they walk away like an idiot. They don't need to know. Listen, be smart about it. So it's just trying to be positive. And I've got a fantastic team, and I didn't always. It took me 30 years hiring people. So I've got people on my staff. I'm not making this up because I know this is unusual for restaurants. I have people on my staff that have been with me for 20 plus years. My management team right now is the best management team I've ever had, ever. And they have no experience. I promoted them from within, and I taught them myself.
That's the best way.
Oh my God. In the past, I always chose people with experience somewhere else. And then I would try to talk to them and they'd be like, "Do you want me to do it your way or do you want me to do it the right way?" I just don't use the right way.
Yeah.
Mark from another restaurant has experience, and I have and people take them chicken masala, and have them from another restaurant go, "Do you want me to do chicken masala your way or you want me to do it the right way?" You idiot, I wrote
It's so true, Randy. We hear it over and over again. We hire for character and soft skills, not for the hard skills, because that stuff you can teach. And that's exactly what you did. You had people that you can promote from within with the right attitude. And then
some of it, some of it, like my general manager is the best employee I've ever had. And I don't want to say anything that works for me because I do have a really good staff. And my other managers are quite good also. But she has just been the best things that are happening to me. And she comes in with a good attitude. And when I offered her the job, there was another manager that's working. I asked her to have lunch with me. She wouldn't have lunch with me because I think she thought I was asking her on a date. So I told my wife about this. This is above board. I want to talk about something. And so she finally agrees to have lunch with me. And I tell her that I want to make her name. She says no. And I go, "Well, why not?" She says, "You already have a man. That manager's gone. It hasn't happened yet. They don't know it. But I made the decision to move on from her. So whether you accept this position or not, I'm doing it. A lot better if you." So she finally accepted on a contingency. I looked for somebody else. So I let the other manager go and she goes in. And right away, it was just night and day. She was doing, I'm not real good at following up with people like I should be. I think a lot of managers are this way, which is why a lot of us are affected. And I would tell her to do something. And I didn't have to check on her. It would just get done. I probably do my doctor background check on
That's all right.
But, she would just get it done. And I'm like, oh my God, I love this. And so one day the phone rings and she answers it. I'm sitting there and it's somebody inquiring if we manage. We wanted to manage the job. So she's got the phone and she's like, "Yeah, this person wants to know if we need a manager." And I said, "Oh, no." And she sat there and stared at me. And then she got back in the house. She says, "No, that position's been filled." And I thought, "Oh, okay." And the thing about her is not just her follow through, but she's no nonsense. She works. She's always in motion. She's great. When she asks people to do something, they don't question her because she never stops doing it. She just is never visiting. She's got a good personality, but she's just constantly moving and working. And she's great at hiring people. So since she's hired some really, really good people. So when I say I'm just blessed with a great staff, I've had servers that are just outstanding. And it's because of her. I tended to hire, when I needed to hire somebody, it was on my to-do list. You got to hire somebody. So, somebody come in and apply, and whether they were really, I got a good feeling about them, I hired them to get it off my freaking to-do list.
Right.
Yeah, she actually picks the right person.
Well, that's a start you got there, Randy, because definitely finding people like that has all those qualities at the same time are not easy to find.
And to be successful, you got to have people like that because, like for me, I wear so many hats, so many responsibilities. I just want things off my list. And so I was, especially before her, I would just do things to get it done. And it wasn't always the right thing. With her, now that I can give her things to do, now, it's like advertising. Back the first 27 years, I cooked every night at the restaurant. The only night off I used to take was only Sunday. And I got to where I didn't want to advertise because if I got too busy, I might have work on Sunday. Or if I got too busy, I'd be back in the kitchen and I'd have to work so hard that, I'd be tired. And pretty soon, you begin to learn, what, I need to hire somebody to take my spot in the kitchen so that I can advertise some business so I can make some money. Because I want it to be busy because I don't want to work that hard. It took me a long time to get to the point where I realized that.
No, that's 100%.
Now I don't want to lose them. So you just have to constantly they up.
Yeah, you definitely have great people that have been working with you for 20 years and they've stuck around. So Randy, knowing the industry and what the challenges that it's facing right now, raising labor costs, supply chain changes, all of these things, where do you see the restaurant industry heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
Worried about that. You're talking about the supply chains, especially COVID. It's just so hard to get items. And I started using multiple vendors and everything else to try to find things. And I got to drive get Restaurant Depot to eat things. And then the inflation, food costs. Oh my goodness. I mean, I have a steakhouse. So meat, back when I first opened, it went over $10 an hour. It was December. It's like when you're a business supply and demand, it was 10. Now it's routinely $14 a pound. That's what it is all the time now. It doesn't matter. And if you know anything about the steaks, when you trim it, you lose 40% of that. So now your meat is $20. It's insane. So being an independent restaurant guy, I worry about chains. Well, I used to worry about a lot more than I do now. I used to worry about some chain was going to open up, another steakhouse was going to open. It was going to put so much pressure on down a business. Since then, I've had Harry's move into Frisco. We've had Frisco's, Silver Fox. Now Three Forks is here. Frisco's growing. We have all these big prime steakhouses. I had no competition. I have all these visions in our business that grows. So I think as long as you do your job and you take care of your customers and you stop worrying about what you're charging, you got to charge what you need to charge to make money and just do your job and take care of your customers. And I think things will take care of themselves. And that's not to say that, my sales will go up and down, but I have really done well, even when big places open up near me. And I think I'm doomed. Nothing changes. Like we still grow. We grow a steady. Yeah, things are good.
That's great. That's great, Randy. And really fortunate. You guys have a great mix of many different things going for you. Of course, you leading the team. Of course, great product, great space, the historic house. It's just such a unique experience, right? That you guys are delivering.
And we make mistakes. We had a close friend come in the restaurant last night. I haven't seen him in 15 years. Real close, right? But 15 years ago, we were really close. Came in and we overcooked his steak. He was there with his wife and his twin brother and his wife. And we overcooked his steak. Oh, that was so embarrassing. And, we go out, we apologize, we do. But, I read a book and I wish I could remember the name of the author, but he owns restaurants in New York City.
Right. Danny Mayer. Yeah. Setting the table.
Yeah. Setting the table. Yeah. And he wrote about how when you make mistakes, how it's an opportunity to actually make a customer. And I read that and I really take that to heart. So when you make a mistake, it's not the way you want to start a dialogue with somebody. But I can't tell you how many customers have told me, God, I came in there one time and this happened and you came by and talked to us. Maybe I comped something. But whenever I did, my little motto, and it's not a motto I share with anybody, it's just my own little thing, is I want everybody to leave there as want to build as friends.
Right.
Right. No matter how bad things get, I try to where you eat work around. I do everything I can to make things right. And I can't tell how many customers I've actually gotten because they continue to come in. I had an Easter. This is one of the big stupid things I did one time. I had Easter and I wasn't getting enough Easter business because, I'm a big expensive steakhouse. And so, I wouldn't get the after church crowd. I got some, but not enough. So I decided I would do a brunch. I have a steakhouse. So I have grills back there. You put a cook an egg on a grill, it goes right through it. And I didn't have the right equipment to pull the menu off.
Right.
So we ended up having like 300 reservations, all this brunch menu, and we started struggling right away. My kitchen manager at that time, I don't know what happened. She just passed out and fell on the floor. I had to call a freaking ambulance to come pick her up off the floor. And I wrote these recipes, but I taught her. I didn't teach the whole staff.
Oh, wow.
Job to get everybody organized. So I had to go back there and try to pull this thing off myself. It was a disaster. 31 years, the worst day I ever had. We call it Black Sunday. That's like our little funny little thing, first day.
Yep.
And I walked into this is so bad. I was so embarrassed that at my office, to go to the kitchen to my office, I didn't want to walk through the dining room. So I went outside and walked all the way around trying to find a side door in the office because I didn't want to see any customers. And I tried to sneak in. And when I get by my office, which is near the bar, there's a lot of people down at the bar. They're there asking to see me because they want to bitch at me.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody sees me and it's like, oh no. And I go over and they stood in line and one by one, they all sat there and told me about how terrible their experience.
Oof.
And so one by one, I tried to make it right. It was a disaster. Obviously made it day. But I had this one guest, he still comes into this day. He was in line and I'll never forget him. And he gets up to like the next guy in line to tell me about his bad experience. He finally just got out of line and he walked away. And his name. So I called him the next day. And I said, I saw you were in line. He walked away. He said, Randy, I felt so bad for you. He said, I was listening to people and I was listening to what you were saying. And I realized that you just made a mistake. And what was good was going to be somebody else. Anyway, I forget what I did. Probably reached out in his body or something. He still comes in. He's a very regular customer. And every time, we joke about that one time he came in Mother's Day and, he's like, you can't turn it around even on the worst of days, turn people around. Grow your business, even if you're making a mistake. One of the things about Frisco is it's growing so fast that I get to make mistakes every day. It's community so fast that the people I lose.
You get the second chances.
Oh my God, Randy, I think we've all been there with having those dreadful days or nights or whatever in service. And it's just, we all got some really crazy stories with that, but that's a really good one. So Randy, you've built the legacy over the years, of course, with this restaurant. How do you want to be remembered in this industry when you eventually step away?
I've never really thought about that because I don't worry about that too much. I worry more about how I've thought about my family. I worry more about what my kids think. I have a niece that's like a daughter to me. I worry about what she thinks, my wife, my dad. But I think we do things the right way. I think my staff, I'm sure I've fired a few people in the past, so they tried to say otherwise. But I think my staff, for the most part, already think highly of me as I do them. I get my current staff. I think they're wonderful.
Yeah, very well. Great answer, Randy. So, and last question, Randy, if you could sit down with your younger self on the day you open your first restaurant, knowing everything you know now, what would be a piece of advice that you would give to navigate the ups and downs of the restaurant industry?
I would go to college, pick another business. So I do a little tour at local colleges. One year, I'm invited by different professors, and I go in their hospitality classes. They're not necessarily restaurant classes, but they're kind of hospitality. And the very first one I ever did, the guy was like, I just want you to come talk to the class. And what do you want me to talk about? She said, well, talk about yourself. I'm like, oh, give me something to talk about. She said, no, just talk about yourself. So, I go there and it's one of these classrooms that's a stadium type. I'm just calling it like a theater type seating. And I'm behind the podium. And so, I started talking about myself. I started off, Del Frisco. And then I'm about a little bit of ways in and I said out loud, Josh, this is going to be boring for you because I'm boring the hell out of myself. Yeah. I was like, you guys go to school here. This is what why don't you guys tell me what you want to know? Ask me, just tell me what you're doing. Ask me questions. And so right away, this girl raises her hand. And that was one of their questions they asked me, though, was what kind of advice I'd get. And people, especially these young people, they watch Food Network and they see celebrity chef. They go to my restaurant, they see me walk around. I walk around a lot of times. So my dad didn't like this. My mom especially didn't like it, but I drink a lot of bourbon. And I walk around the restaurant talking to people with my bourbon, and well, they see it and they, I can do that for a living. That looks easy. I don't know, the 5 o'clock in the evening, drive by the restaurant at 5 o'clock in the morning, you'll see one car left there. It's my car. I get there really early in the morning. I cut all the beef myself. I know should have somebody else do it. I've had business coaches telling me that I would sleep all kinds of time if I had somebody else do it. I do it myself. I go to the farmer's market myself. I can pick my own produce. Just like with my employees, when I go to the farmer's market now, I have vendors that I go to. They know how I inspect the produce, so now they don't waste their own time. The freshest, the best stuff they've got. So they just do it. And I do all these things, and then I work in my office several hours. I'm like, on holidays, when Valentine's Day, when I should be with my wife, I'm at the restaurant, obviously, one of our busiest days. Christmas Eve, when I should be with my family, I'm at, the restaurant business is not a business that I recommend. Now, I say all these things like I'm bitter. I love it. And my family knows I love it. My wife knows I love it. Kids know I love it. So in no way am I trying to trash the industry or the business or anything else. It's just not for most people.
Agreed.
So I try to actually talk people out of it.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I say the same thing.
Program in the school system here. And so sometimes kids will ask me to mentor them. And I got a message from a girl that I mentored like 15 years ago. I sent a message. She sent me a letter in the mail. I read it to my wife. Believe it. She said it changed her life. She always wanted to have her own restaurant, wanted to be a chef. She came and mentored with me. And after with me, she became an architect.
You inspired her not to get in the No, but it's true, Randy. I think it's definitely requires a very specific type of personality to be in this business. It definitely isn't for everyone. Now, the love that we feel for industry, and that's the reason we're in it. We've been in it. It's just like nothing else. And just the people that are in this industry understand that. So,
and you only find a handful of people, and they're usually owners, right? Or at very least high-level managers that really love this. Most people are in it, go to college or nothing stoned to something else. There aren't too many people that are in this that
Yeah. Well, Randy, thank you so much for your time. This is a great conversation. I really love to learn about everything that you shared. And so for the people that might not know where Randy's Steakhouse is, Randy, if they want to stop by in Frisco, where is Randy's restaurant located?
It's 7026 Main Street in the old downtown of Frisco, Texas. Our website at randysteakhouse.com. So easy to find. My email is randy@randysteakhouse.com. If anybody wants to reach out to me. It's a nice place. It's really unique. It really is a special place. So special occasion.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Randy. For sure. Next time I'm in Frisco, I'll be calling you and visiting you.
Okay. That sounds good.
All right, Randy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you.